Hi, this is Paul Hubbard from aBlogtoWatch, and this is a video review of the Chanel J12 Chromatic. Let's take a look. So the Chanel J12 has a storied history. Chanel introduced the use of ceramics in dive watches about 10 years ago, and this is a new version. So it looks like steel, polished, but it's actually ceramic infused with titanium. So you get a watch that's about, or maybe slightly lighter than a steel watch. It feels about the same, but it is reputed to be incredibly hard, difficult to scratch, and should retain its looks for a very long time. In addition, you have a ceramic bezel and a sapphire crystal, all with a 200-meter rating, so this should be a watch that will last you a very long time and remain nice and shiny, kind of like radio in that sense. So, as you can see, this is more of a dress diver. There's no dive extension, there's no snap lock. The bracelet is this very clever design, which is simply a spring that bends, and then you get a buckling effect. It snaps into place. So you have the deploying effect of an invisible buckle, reasonably low profile. But again, it won't extend for a dive suit. But this isn't really a hardcore dive watch. I think of this more as a beautiful watch that is durable enough for just about any activity. So let's take a look. The one thing that really strikes me about this watch is just how thin this is. This is around 11 millimeters. It is incredibly slim for a 200-meter watch. I wish more of them were this thin, to be honest with you. This is the 38 millimeter version. They also make, I believe, a 41. So if you want in a bigger size, it can be had. The winding on this is very, very smooth and light. You can barely tell it's winding. Judging by that and the thinness, this pretty much has to be an ETA 2892. It could be a Soprod A10, but I kind of doubt it. But one of my favorite movements of all time. Durable, reliable, chronometer accurate, easy to service, and thin. Gotta love that. The winding and setting on this are just wonderful. You know, nice two definite double click there. As you can see from the beautifully smooth, consistent movement you get from the 2892 running at 28.8, and simple unsigned crown, good crown threads and gaskets, and a well protected crown design, so easily screws down. Should give you no troubles whatsoever. The bezel is an interesting design. If you notice, instead of a pip here, there's a 0, and there's no lume, so it's completely useless at night. And the lume, as you'll see from the lume picture in the review, is pretty minimal. You've got just a little bit on the hands and tiny dots on the dial. They could really step that part of it up. What you really get to appreciate out of this one is just the sheer elegance of this watch. The applied markers, as you can see, you have what I call a flipped Arabics design, where the numbers are upright here, and then after the symmetry point, they flip here. But the numbers are applied. This section of the dial has circular graining, and the section in the middle has the vertical graining. So as you move this through light, and I've positioned a fluorescent off to my left to give you an idea here, you can see how the dial plays with the light. It's really the core of how I enjoy this watch. Very dressy, very subtle, very understated. In person, despite the fact that this is a polished bracelet, it really feels rather unobtrusive. You don't really notice this one. It doesn't leap out at you. It is an elegant design in that sense. Okay. The bezel is 120 click. It's a little bit slippery and low profile. As you can see here, it doesn't overhang the case much, and it's polished, and so it's a little tricky to grab a hold of. It's good enough for timing, basic cooking and parking meters, which is what I suspect this will get used for. Let's put it on. I have a 7 1/4 inch wrist, which is average or so. And again, this clasp is an interesting design. It's very comfortable in person. Now, the thing I like most about this watch is just the elegance of it, and by that I mean understatement. Very subtle branding, very low profile. This thing glides underneath the shirt cuff. It's wonderful. I wish more dive watches were this versatile. This is a very nice, understated watch. I think the 200-meter rating gives it a versatility that a lot of dress watches don't, and the design is just lovely. It's not super blingy, it's not very ostentatious, but it should last you a long time and look good doing so. And I really like the fact that it's available in two much more moderate sizes, 38 and 41, And even as you saw on a 7¼ inch wrist, the 38 is a great size. I highly recommend it. Please read the rest of my review for details. This is Paul Hubbard for aBlogtoWatch.